Listen, you spend tons of time and money to drive people to your website, drive brand awareness, and ultimately get people to purchase. But if you've got a low conversion rate, you're losing money on every visitor who goes to your site. And you're also really limiting your potential to scale. Of all the 8-figure brands that I've had the privilege to work with over the years, not a single one of them had a conversion rate issue. The reality is, if you've got a conversion rate issue, you're not going to be able to scale. In this video, I'm going to run through some of the biggest conversion rate pitfalls that we see Shopify brands make. But just before I dive into those, it's really important to understand where those problems are happening and why. Now, before we even look at the website, the first piece of the marketing puzzle is getting traffic to your website. This is the awareness phase in the customer journey. It all starts with a website visit, and the key thing to look at here prior to looking at anything else is just, what are your bounce rates? Are you getting a lot of people to your site who are bouncing immediately after landing? Not only will this impact your conversion rates, but it'll also impact your CPMs on platforms you're advertising on. Because if it looks like people aren't having a good experience on your website, these platforms aren't going to want to drive traffic to your website. Typically, when you're advertising, you want to make sure you're sending people to a collection page or a product page, not the home page. Main reason for this is because you want to make sure whatever you're advertising in your ad is what people get on the other side of the ad. So you're maintaining ad scent, i.e. if you're advertising a succulent plant and you send them to your website and it's all about gardening in general, people will bounce because they'll either A, have to burn calories to find that item, or B, they won't be able to find that item. Now, if you have an ad for a certain product and you're sending them to a product page, this is the next phase in their awareness. This is the consideration phase. Potential customers are viewing products and shopping around to see what really interests them. People at this stage who don't proceed any further, i.e. they don't add to cart or purchase something, are usually stumbling because of one of two reasons. Number one, they need more information about your products. They weren't convinced enough to add to cart. Or number two, they might need to just see other products because maybe the product that they checked out wasn't really of interest to them. Keep this in mind with your retargeting campaigns, but also with your abandonment flows on Klaviyo or any other marketing platform you're using. If you can speak directly to what someone's potential objections are at a certain stage in the funnel, you're gonna get more purchases. And if they do see something they like, they may add it to cart, which is the next step, preference. So you've got them interested enough to add something to their cart. Sometimes at this stage, all they need is a simple reminder. An abandoned cart flow or meta retargeting ads specifically for people who have added to cart can go a really long way here. Now, if you are using an abandoned cart flow, now note this is different than an abandoned checkout flow, just start with a simple reminder. If this doesn't work well enough, usually the objections are going to come down to one of three things: product price, not enough info, or trust. Now, the big thing that a lot of people get hung up on is the difference between add to cart and initiate checkout. While very similar, someone who has initiated checkout is showing a slightly higher level of intent and is going to have slightly different objections for why they might not be buying in the first place. So this is the fourth step. Now, typically, if someone has gotten all the way to the stage of initiating checkout, it's probably not a price issue. While it can still be a pricing issue, oftentimes they see the value in the product, but it really comes down to one of these four things: trust, is it the right product for them, shipping costs, and shipping time. The final stage in the acquisition process is to get them to actually purchase. If you've got them this far, that's great, but this is not where it ends. This is where a lot of brands end up dropping the ball because they don't help their customers achieve their desired outcome. Your customers buy your product because they want to achieve a desired outcome. If you can help them get to that desired outcome, you're going to make sure they're happy with your product, which means you're probably going to get referrals from them, especially if you start building out a loyalty or referral program. So, like I mentioned, now that you've established these 5 core areas where things drop off, you now can identify where the problem is happening and why. If you just say you've got a conversion rate issue, that's not helpful for you or anyone else. Start by identifying and pinpointing the problem. Now, there might be a few different areas that could be better, but start by focusing on the main bottleneck here. Now, I don't want to give you specific benchmarks because they're going to vary largely based on your brand and the industry. Here's what many brands overlook though. They Google, what's a good conversion rate? They find the average is 2 to 3% and say, oh, I have a bad conversion rate because my conversion rate is only 1%. Here's where they're wrong though. Conversion rate varies depending on the industry you're in and most importantly about your AOV. If you've got a higher average order value, you're gonna have a lower conversion rate. If you've got a lower average order value, you're gonna have a higher conversion rate. The inverse of that is that we've got clients who would be struggling and would not be profitable and would go out of business almost instantly if they had a 2% conversion rate. If you're not sure about this is a more complicated question and it's more complicated to get into, but that's the gist of it. Feel free to ask in the comment section below if you do have any questions about that. Now, here's some other things to look out for if you are having conversion rate issues. Number 1, your URL. Where are you sending people to? Is it congruent with what your call to action is? Are people landing on your website where they expect to land? And ultimately, are you meeting them where they're at in the customer journey? Number 2, segmentation. Now, this is really important not only with email marketing, but with any kind of marketing. Are you hitting people who are actually interested in your product? If you're looking at email marketing specifically, we have a whole video on segmentation and it walks you through step by step the exact segments that we use for our 7 and 8 figure e-com brands. Number 3, product availability. This is a big one, but often overlooked. If you have a top selling product and you just sold out of that product, your conversion rates are going to drop. Keep an eye on inventory levels, make sure that you're keeping a tab on that, and also that you're not advertising to pages that are either non-existent or have products that are sold out. 4, are your products generally more seasonal? You're gonna see this, and especially if you're new to e-commerce, you're gonna see sometimes your products are gonna be seasonal. This isn't with every single brand, but for example, if you sell soup, you're probably gonna see a spike in the winter and fall seasons, and you're probably gonna see things slow off in spring and summer because people just don't drink soup as much. So keep seasonality in mind when you're looking at your marketing. Number 5 is timing. Did you just have a massive sale or a massive product launch? Typically, sales are going to be a little bit softer after you have a big product launch or you have a massive sale. Think Black Friday, Cyber Monday. That first week of December is almost always lower than Black Friday, Cyber Monday. 6 is trustworthiness. Does your website look trustworthy? This is a big one and it's often overlooked, right? If you go to a website and it looks super shady, are you gonna trust putting your credit card in there? Or are you gonna trust really buying from this website? Probably not. Make sure that your website actually looks credible. It looks trustworthy. You can help do this by adding reviews. You can help do this by just cleaning up your website and making sure it looks clean. Shopify does a lot of the checkout stage with this, but if you do have a custom theme or if you're on another platform, and this is really important for those people, make sure that things look legit. Next is your overall website design. Is it easy for people to navigate? Think about it from the perspective of your mom or your grandmother. Not you. You are not your average user. Is it easy for people to find answers to their questions or ask questions if they have specific questions? Do you have an email that's readily accessible for people? Do you have a chat feature? Are you using any pop-ups? And if you are using pop-ups, are they inhibiting the navigation at all? We've seen this before where you have a pop-up to gather an email, but then it's blocking the add to cart button. Not great. Definitely not something you want to do. Another one here is, are you optimized for mobile? I can't believe I'm still saying this, but this is really important. If you're still optimizing and building for desktop, stop. Optimize for mobile. It's very, very important. And most importantly, do you have ridiculous product names, or is it really easy for people to find and search for your products? When you look at your product page specifically, is it properly optimized? Do you have good images? Are your images blurry? Do your images actually show your product in use if it's something that is usable? Does it show it in different angles? Do you have reviews? Do you have a description? Is your description an entire essay, or is it point form and concise? Does it look professional? This is really, really important. And similar to product pages, collection pages are also really important. If you've got a lot of products, make sure your collection pages are optimized as well. And finally, your checkout process. If you're noticing you're getting a lot of people abandoning cart or abandoning checkout, dive deeper into that. Why are people abandoning? Are there unexpected costs? Do you have unexpected shipping costs? Is this something that someone would want for a vacation or a travel and they are going to have to wait 2 or 3 or 4 weeks to get it? Well, maybe that just like lapses over the time that they actually need it by. Do you have multiple payment options? If you only have one payment option, that's going to restrict a lot of people too. And yes, people still use PayPal. Is shipping really expensive relative to the product? If you are buying a $50 t-shirt and shipping is $43, I can't justify that. And a lot of other people can't too. And the final piece here is traffic. No matter how great your website is, if you are running trash traffic to your website, it will fail. This means looking at your marketing campaigns. This means if you are running traffic campaigns on Facebook, please, for the love of God, do not. If you're running kind of garbage traffic ads from Google, or if you're getting a lot of traffic from TikTok that isn't necessarily relevant, it's really, really important to look at this, because this will make it look like you have a poor conversion rate when really you have a poor traffic problem. So I know I went through a lot in this video, and if you do have any questions, feel free to ask them below. If you did like this video, I invite you to like and subscribe. And if you do have an e-com brand doing over $50,000 a month in revenue, I invite you to apply. There's a link below in the description, and I look forward to chatting with you soon. Thanks so much.